All right, what's up, guys? It's Flame and MESR here from the Outlaws. We're just going to answer some questions, I guess, that you wouldn't normally get through the players, and maybe like put to rest some misconceptions or theories, or just like air out season one a little bit.
Let's just start with that. What was your favorite match from the season and why?
I think the Boston match from stage one, like right before we made it to the stage playoffs, because it was like our first time as like a team hitting like a point where we could like make a playoff. And so there was like a lot of pressure on that one match. Like we knew that both teams had like really strong records. I think that was like right after we had finished like our 20-0 map streak. And so like we felt like really good, but Boston also felt really good at that point. So like, I don't know, it was just like a big match at the time. In retrospect, it was obviously not that big of a match, but when you look at it from like our perspective, that season stage, it like felt really good.
For me, it would probably be the first time we pulled out Torb on Blizzard World. Just because like you could hear like the excitement in like Jake's voice, where he's just like, "All right, boys, it's time. Let's do this." It was just like really funny hearing that. And it's like it was really good to see them like having fun and stuff, because like, a lot of times where matches like come down to the wire and they're like super tense and stuff, and so just hearing like that kind of fun in his voice was like really good.
All right, what was the most important lesson that you guys learned from season one?
The thing that like I didn't know and now I do know that I didn't know when I started season one was that like I think mental health is like way more important than like even practice. Like I think when I look back on season one, if I look at like what went wrong, it feels like a lot of it was just people not having good mental health. There's a lot of like different things that can affect someone's mentality, whether it's like bad diet, bad exercise, bad sleep, and then maybe like bad performance. And I don't think I was personally prepared to deal with as much of like the Dr. Phil side stuff that I felt like I was doing during the season. And I think next season I'll be way more prepared for it. And I think next season I'll definitely work with the org to get a lot more like counseling involved, or just like psychiatry, because there's like a lot of it. Like I don't think people realize that like sometimes it's hard for like a 20-year-old to like process all of the emotions and pressure that happens when you're on stage, and just like all the outside voices that are coming at you. Like you have like sponsors that have like pressure on you, you have your parents obviously have pressure on you, you have like the org that has pressure on you, and then you have like fans. And we have like such a massive fan base that I think like when people feel like they're letting down fans or their parents or literally anybody, they start to like, some people can like crumble pretty fast. And I think that was probably like one of our biggest weaknesses this season. Maybe that's true for every team, but I definitely felt it. And I think that's like the biggest lesson, was that like next season I really need to put more emphasis on keeping everybody sane and like in good spirits all the time, because that's actually like more important in my opinion than even being like on top of your game.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with Flame. Like I don't think the players really got like a break in between stages until like stage 3, really. Like every stage before that, it was just like they had like content and stuff like that, where it's just they never really had like a chance to reset their minds, and just it was constantly like just month after month of just grinding and playing and practicing and strategizing, and it just really takes a toll on someone.
Like if you're a fan, right, you look at a player and say like, oh, this player's not that good, or this player's not as strong as maybe this other player, and maybe they should replace this player with that player. But when you look at the way that the season went, from my perspective, it's like, if you took like a contenders player right now and threw them into Overwatch League Season 2, there's like a very, very high chance that they would struggle with the exact same things that the Season 1 players struggled with, in that like, they're new to the pressure, they're new to the schedule, they're new to like the everything, like the press, the content, literally like all the stuff on the side that everybody sees, that's just not matches. And so like if you were to say that like, oh, this player might be an upgrade skill-wise, it's almost not relevant because you wind up in a spot where now you have to take another player to like get them through like the roughness of the first season. I think it's like everyone's a rookie this season, if you look at it that way. That's how I see it, is everyone was kind of a rookie this season, and like no one's ever had to do content every single day. No one's ever had to like do interviews every single day. No one's ever been up till like midnight before strategizing with their team in like a room, like that's not something that you do when you're a contenders player. That's not something you do when like you're a semi-pro player. And so like the learning curve to be an Owl level player, I think, is incredibly steep. Like you have to like, you're just like thrown into it. And I feel like that was like the biggest problem, not problem, but that was like the biggest hurdle, was getting everybody through that at the same time, when everyone's doing it at different paces. Like our team actually has like a pretty big age gap, right? Like I think we have like a 19-year-old and like a 28-year-old. So like everybody handles things differently, and when you're trying to get like Muma, for example, who's super young and super like unexposed to money and fame and like all these things. And then you have someone like Cool Matt who's played like a million games before this at like a very high level and is like used to the pressure, is used to like just getting through tournaments. It's very hard to get Muma to Cool Matt's level and also like find a middle ground between like Muma and Cool Matt's personalities and like mentalities in that sense. Muma's pretty calm for his age, I would say, and Cool Matt's also very calm for his age, but everyone in between, like if you're a Jake gets very emotional. If you're Rocket's very emotional. Like some players deal with things differently, and I think that like now that we finally have an off season, now that we finally have 6 months of preseason, I guess, you can actually start to, or I feel like I can actually start to like address those issues that you couldn't actually address during like the very hectic match today, match tomorrow, scrim today. Like,
Who do you guys feel like was like the unsung hero of the Outlaws?
What comes to mind is like Spree, but like Spree already, you know, like he's already like, he already gets like recognition for playing really good on the maps that we put him on. But outside of just playing, he actually does like so much for the team. I feel like in terms of like feedback, practice, and just like supporting the team. I feel like he's like, in my eyes, like the perfect kind of teammate that you want. You know, he's like just always there, always positive, and always wanting to make the team better. Like even if he's not playing, you know, like he'll just yeah. I think Spree.
They always said like Spree or Hyunwoo. I think Hyunwoo doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does, but he's always in there recording VODs. Like he watches like almost every single scrim. His English is not that good, so it's hard to communicate with him sometimes, but like the stuff he does say is like actually really funny. He's the analyst, I guess, for the team, like the direct analyst. I would say him and Arhan actually, if you weren't just gonna go to Spree, because I don't think people realize that like Arhan only got here for stage 4. But we had talked to him in stage 3, and he had been watching all of our matches and scrims from home in Korea, like at 5 a.m. from like giving Tairong and Hyunwoo feedback. So he's been like also doing a lot of stuff in the background. Like I think that the Korean staff that isn't Tairong has been doing, I mean, the Koreans in general that aren't Tairong have been doing a lot of work on the side that obviously doesn't get put into focus as much or seen in our videos as much, but the two of them, I would say, on top of like empower Tairong and like give him more stuff to work with. So I do think that like there's a strong case to be made for Hyunwoo, who's literally he'll like sit there with like a spreadsheet to like figure out like who got the first kill in each fight and like whether or not we won it. So like it's like, oh, if Jake gets the first kill, how often do we win a fight? And if Jake dies first, how often do we lose a fight? Or like stuff like that. But yeah, that's like Hyunwoo's like niche, and he's like very good at that and like Excel for whatever reason. Like he's just like a god at spreadsheets. And like stuff like that is very helpful as a player and as staff, just to like have everything organized.
What was your favorite thing about season 1?
Beating Fusion, I think, like 3-1 or there, it was just like, it was like really good for our team, I think. Even though we didn't, you know, beat Nixel after that, it was still like very, it showed the team that like it's possible, you know, like they were like, they're like really in their heads that it was like a curse or there, you know, like every time we face Fusion and we always get 3-2, you know, just like,
just don't go to game 5 for it.
yeah, just don't go to game 5.
That was kind of the strat. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, so, I don't know, that was good. Like, after that game, everyone was, like, in such good spirits, you know. It's always good to see the team, like, so positive because, I mean, yeah, I said it before, but it's, like, our team can get very emotional sometimes, and when they get very negative, it's, like, always really hard to pull them back.
And back to, like, what Adam said about, like, the emotional thing, like, I definitely think that stage 4, our biggest weakness was actually just emotions. Like, we, like, lost 0-4 to Shock that one week, and, like, that was 100% just people, like, shutting down mentally because they were, like, convinced that the Gladiators match was gonna, like, end their playoff hopes. And, like, in reality, it did make a big difference. That Gladiators match was very big, and we, like, if we had won it, we probably would have been in playoffs 100%.
What does preparation for season 2 look like now that season 1 is over, and how soon will it be until like the players are back to practicing and scrimming seriously?
Scrimming seriously is like a hard question, or
I think Screaming Serious is going to be like,
yeah, it's like because it's not us that determines it, right? It's like there's like the signing window doesn't start until whenever it starts, and like so we won't have 12 for in-houses until then, and then like I don't know what every other team's ideas are. I think the off-season right now is like still very much a blank slate.
yeah.
Like we have like a lot of plans, but they're not like definite plans. From like a content and travel and like making, you know, like events happen perspective. The off season though, I think my biggest focuses need to be on like getting everybody healthy. And by like healthy, I mean like I don't mean like just fit. I mean just like mentally strong and like determined and like changing the bad mindsets of the players that I think have like subpar mindsets sometimes. oh, just get a different player forehead. But when you get a different player, if that player has a different problem that the other player had, then you have to fix that one instead. And I feel like 6 months is more than enough time to fix a mentality issue. Like, I think if you think about like kids going into college, right? Like if you're like an 18-year-old going to college, you're so dumb. Like you're just like a dumb kid. And that's like how I view some of the players sometimes, is like, oh, they're just being dumb kids. And like, that's normal, like that's good, right? That's like, you expect that. Like I remember how dumb I was when I was 20. So like when I see like the 20-year-olds on the team doing dumb shit, I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I would have expected from a 20-year-old. It's almost weird, but I feel like me, MESR, Tyrone, and Kyle have like this like job of almost being like mentors and like college professors, in the sense that like we need them to like grow up.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as just like replacing a 20-year-old with another 20-year-old. It's like get a 20-year-old to like think like a 30-year-old almost. And that's like my plan for the offseason. It definitely sounds hard when I say it out loud. Yeah, it goes back to like the whole like idea of like, this is kind of like college for some people. Like some people skipped college to come here. Some people didn't finish college to come here. And so like they need to, this is like their first dose of real world. And I think it's a different dose. Like they're not like working at a 9-to-5 corporate job. They're working as professional athletes with like a lot of responsibilities that probably would have came like, if you're an NFL player, you play in college, right? And you get famous in college. You like become like a big star athlete in college. But they didn't have that, right? They were just like pubbing in Overwatch and playing like contenders in their basements for like $10 a week with their sponsors. And now it's like, oh, I'm salaried.
I think like scrimming seriously is probably gonna be way more down the line, not just because of like the stuff that we want to fix, but also just because of like Blizzard. Who knows what game we're gonna be playing like 5 months from now, you know? It's like
new heroes coming.
Yeah, exactly. New hero coming, you know, new
balance
maps
patches.
or something.
Smash that throws up walls now.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's gonna be a completely different game. So it's like if we start scrimming seriously like now, you know, it's like there's no point in it really.
When you look at the way patches affect the game,
Yeah.
it's actually so drastic. It's like you're relearning a sport. It's like if you took basketball and added like a death pit in the middle of a basketball court for like one split of basketball, and like how would that affect it? Or just like
not
remove
even
the
that
3-point line.
Because it's like we have to learn like different maps too, you know,
Yeah.
like and different like strategies and different patches, and each
Now
map
add some
can
rocks
change.
into the
Yeah,
court.
it's like, okay,
and
instead
then,
of playing on this basketball court, you're gonna play on this other one that's like
A hill.
3 levels. And a hill. The hoop is over here, you know. It's like, okay.
Can Flame do 10 push-ups yet?
Yeah, I think it's funny that Raucus thought it couldn't. I think it's funny that Raucus thinks he can do 10 push-ups. Like, I think Raucus is like the kind of person that goes to the gym, like stares at the squat rack, takes a few selfies with it, and then like leaves. And like the fact that like he comes in here asking me if I can do 10 push-ups is like insulting to me. Like I've asked him to do a push-up contest multiple times, and he just won't show up. Like one day it was his birthday. His birthday was like last Saturday. My birthday was last Sunday, and I was like, all right, Raucus, 10 push-ups, let's go. Hey, look, it's my birthday. I don't have to do anything.
All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following. Thanks for everything and supporting us and everything. So catch us next video.